Hey, everybody. Let me know if you can hear me. Just hopefully you can. As always, when I have one of these scheduled lives, I feel like I have way too much time through the day. And it's like, man, 6 hours until I go live. And then, like 2 hours until I go live. And I just feel like I've got all of this time. Even like 30 minutes before the live, my wife made some Kung Pao chicken for me tonight. And so I thought, well, I got plenty of time. So I just sat down and ate, had plenty of time. But then always last minute, I realized, oh, there are so many different things I need to go do. And I feel like I just run around like a chicken with my head cut off. So um, let me see. So I am seeing that we've got some viewers, cool, but I am not seeing anybody put any comments in that you can even see me. So I hope I hope that it's working correctly. Um, One thing I have seen, by the way, in Facebook, when you get the notification and you go to view the window, if you view it in like still down, this is my left side, still down the left side, you see like all your other group links and stuff like that, then you're technically not in the live and you can't actually enter any comments at all. I saw that the other day on someone else's live that I was visiting, and I was like, why is it broken? Why is this not working correctly? So if you can't enter comments, just click the video until it goes to where you like the video's all you see, and then you'll be able to enter comments. So, all right. So a Facebook user says that you can see. That's awesome. So by the way, the other thing in the group, there's a link in the description of this video. If you look at the very bottom of the description where I typed up all the text about this particular video, there's a link that says StreamYard. If you click that link, if you're on a computer, you can hold down like Control Shift and click the link. It'll open in a new tab. But if you click that link and give StreamYard permissions to see who you are, then instead of it saying Facebook user, it will say your actual name, or just type your first name whenever you leave a comment in the group. If you're watching me on one of the other spots, like if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching off of my profile or one of the pages, then everything actually will work just fine. It's just in groups for whatever reason. Alrighty. So I see some more have joined. Let me know where you're from, who all's here. I think, Ken, you were planning on being able to come to this one. I can't remember everybody else. It seemed like there were a couple of you at least that had said that you would be here, and we're already getting some good numbers. So drop your name if you would, let me know. And of course, if I sit and wait, it'll take 30 seconds before you see that. So I'm not going to wait, but I will acknowledge the comments as you guys make them. All right, so let's get started. So I Monday night I couldn't go to sleep. I'd had a couple of client calls, and I had two prospect calls in particular that really weighed heavy on me. All right, so Ken said, "Hey," and Jordan, what's up, Jordan? So that's so cool, man, that you were here earlier this week and you're here again. I really appreciate that. You gotta join me. Yeah. So by the way, as we're going along, anybody wants to join me live, the link is in the bottom of this video. Just go to rpurls.com/live-guest, and you with a webcam or a phone, even if you just have your phone, they're good enough to be a guest. With a phone, halfway decent lighting, come on and come join me. You can ask questions one-on-one, whatever. I would love to do some jamming. So, all right. This is Ken's birthday weekend, by the way. He said he may still have to leave. His wife is still celebrating him getting older. I don't know about that one, but I'm sure what that really means is she's still got celebration plans. So totally get it, Ken. Not that you would need my permission, to not be here, but of course, go have fun. You're only going to turn whatever this year is once anyway, so go enjoy it. Happy birthday. Happy for you guys. All right. So Monday night, I couldn't go to sleep. I'd had a couple of client calls, but I had a couple of prospect calls that really stuck in my mind. The first one, I was more concerned with because I knew they knew less about what they were going to go do. And that really, like, it weighed heavy on me. I couldn't go to sleep. The second one, they knew that their plan that they were going to go do wasn't their field of expertise. And actually, it was hard for me to get off the phone with them. I just kept telling them, oh, and make sure you check this. And when you go to do this, like, go, like, do it this way. I was so concerned with them being able to pull off what they were going to go do. And they weren't clients of mine, but I was very, very concerned for them. And so, like, when I went to bed and went to sleep at night, I couldn't go to sleep. I stayed up all night. It was literally 3 a.m. I was taking notes on my phone, trying to figure out, like, why is this bothering me so much? So I decided to put together this slide deck and kind of go through my thoughts. So in today's live, I'm going to cover why smart people fail. Why, really, really smart people fail. They struggle. They have difficulties. I'm very smart myself, and trust me, sometimes I am my own problem, because we're just too smart. So I'll want to cover, like, why being smart actually works against us sometimes. I'll talk about success ingredients. So what are the things that you absolutely have to have in your business? And I will help you make a custom plan. And believe it or not, even though it's custom, it's not going to be, like, super complex. As a matter of fact, by the end of this video, you'll be surprised at how little there actually is. But I challenge you, when you think about it, what do you actually need in your business? You'll see, I believe you'll agree with me, that it's a lot less than what we typically think. And so, I couldn't sleep, had 4 calls that day. 2 of them really bugged me. And I did want to make a clarification, because one person contacted me. They thought I was talking about them. I actually wasn't. I had to go through all the details of everything that I said on the video and show them, like, well, none of these details have to do with you. But they asked right off the bat, they were like, why did you think that I would fail? And I thought, wow, I didn't think the person was going to fail, or that their business was going to fail when I made that video Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever it was. I didn't think the person or their business was going to fail. And I still don't. Like, I have full confidence in them. As a matter of fact, this individual that contacted me really concerned, I told them, I wouldn't take on any client if I didn't actually believe that they would have success, because ultimately that's going to make me look bad. Usually the coach or your marketer or whoever is always going to be the one that gets the blame. So because no one will stand up and say, my business failed and it was all my fault. Like, most people will say, this thing didn't work out. And someone will say, well, didn't you have a coach? Weren't you working with this marketer dude, Richard, whatever? And they're like, yeah, that's exactly why it failed, because, like, Richard didn't know what he was talking about. Like, no one's going to own it. So, I definitely only want to work with people that I personally believe that they'll have success. And that's a psychological thing too, not just like their product or service, and that there's a market space for it, but also, do I think that this person can execute? Because that's, like, the most critical ingredient. So anyway, I never thought, even out of these 2 prospects that I called, that they or their business, their product, their service were going to fail. It was when we got on the phone, typically I give, free advice in the first couple of calls. And I just told them, this is the thing that I would go do in your business right now. And both of them were excited to go do it. It's 2 totally different things they're going to go do. But the thing that each one of them were going to go do was going to take so much knowledge, and they had so much self-confidence to go do it. Entrepreneurs do. That's another big gotcha. Like, entrepreneurs believe in themselves. So, like, yeah, I can go figure this out. I can go do it. But I'm sitting from the position of, I know all the things they don't know. And that's what kept me up at night. Like, I was just really bothered by it. So again, I'm clarifying what the failure is that I was referring to, not the person, not the business, not the product, not the service, but just the one thing that they were going to go do after we got off the phone. So it wasn't the thing that bugged me. It wasn't that I knew they would fail. It was, how did I know that they were going to fail at that one thing they were going to do? How did I already know that? That's why I stayed up. Like, I wanted to figure that out. And Before I go into all of that, I do want to give just a couple of really quick updates on some status. So Keith Brzee, you guys may remember him. He came on, was that at the end of December? Was it pre-Christmas that he came on? I think it was. And we did some marketing for him. It was 2,500 got reached total in marketing, and he had 177 inquiries in a 3-week period. And I want to bring this up. I need to do a case study on him and just talk about how we did his messaging and how it was really simple and a really simple, smooth flow, easy, non-salesy, because I can't stand selling in your face or high pressure sales. And I bring this up because I just want you to think about it for yourself. What would your business look like if you were able to send out a message to 2,500 people, business contacts, businesses, whatever, 2,500 people that are highly targeted for what you're looking for, and you had 177 of them get back with you within a 3-week period? That's like insane. That's like 60 a week. Could you imagine 10 people a day contacting you, 10 people a day for 3 weeks contacting you and asking you, for more information? They want the follow up. Like, that's what we did for Keith. It was really amazing. I had a lot of fun doing it. And this is the sort of stuff I love to do. So some personal stats on my own side. I never went through and did these. I feel kind of ashamed because I should have been like announcing it all along. But when I first started bringing people into my email list, I gathered, it was slow to start, maybe 100 or 200 within the first 5 days or so. But then by the end of 3 weeks, I had 521, and it continues to grow to this day. I'm not having to do as much to grow my email list, and it's growing all by itself. Again, the question is, how would you like to have a contact list of people who have said they definitely want to hear from you, want to hear about your product and your services? They are interested in your help, and you got 521 of them in a 3-week period. Would that make a difference in your business? This is the sort of stuff that I like to do. The last little quick update that I'll give you before we get back into the more interesting stuff of today's topic is this Facebook group is now 165 people. We've done it in about 4 weeks. I didn't do a lot in the very beginning. I think I got like 30, and it felt weird. It felt like it was going to be an uphill climb. It still kind of does. It's only 165 when you think about groups that have like thousands. But 165 people in a group. I think I got like 30 right off the bat when I first announced it to the email list, by the way. And after that, it was like crickets. I couldn't get people. So I've been doing my own marketing naturally, and been super, super busy trying to build this group, build my email list, expand my own reach. And so 165 people in the group. I think 50 or so has been in the last week. And that's roughly the number I think that comes in about every week now, is about 50. So, all right. So in today's live, I feel like we already said this, so I may have like messed up on the slides and put the same slide in twice with two sets of different information. I'm good like that, right? So why is it easy to fail? The only 2 things that you're going to need in your business. And at the very end, I'll give you 2 questions to know if you're really ready to like press forward with your own business, or if you really need to start, just keep doing some planning and some thinking. All right. So the average podcast, this is another thing that like super bugged me that Monday morning or I guess technically it was Tuesday morning, Monday night when I couldn't go to sleep, is that the average podcast dies at 18 months. Jordan is doing a podcast, and he just started in December. I think it is, Jordan. Let me flip over where I can see comments. Yeah. So Ken said, by the way, that 60 people a week would be pretty amazing for his business. And I think that most people will agree that that's pretty insane. So Jordan is doing started a podcast, really cool. The people he's interviewing, it looks to be top shelf. He started, I believe, again December, or maybe it was the very beginning of January, and that's been on my mind. And the average podcast dies at 18 months. That bothers me. The reason why is they just don't get traction. But the really cool thing to know about that then is if you make it past 18 months, you've eliminated all the competition that you started out with. So everyone that's starting with you, Jordan, today in February, like if you just last a year and a half, you will leave them all. What's really interesting to note is the person that I heard this statistic from, it was on a podcast and they were being interviewed on someone else's. And I was listening to them go through the statistics. I think that it was Tim Ferriss's podcast. Tim Ferriss was interviewing someone. I may be wrong about that, but I went and I looked up that lady. It was a lady that he was interviewing. I went and looked up that lady's podcast. Her podcast had stopped at exactly 18 months and was never heard from again. And so I thought, even people that know the statistics and understand some of that psychology behind why it doesn't work, they still actually struggle to make it work for themselves. The other thing that was bugging me was this post from Quentin. I must have grabbed this a couple days ago. He's a big guy on LinkedIn. I say big, he's probably more medium sized marketer on LinkedIn. He has about 41,000, I think, followers as of this week or so. And he's gone to TEDx and been a speaker. And I think this actually, no, I don't know if this is from this particular video is from his TEDx talk or not, but so he's talking in this video about having to record 500 videos before anybody took notice. And in this video, he's talking about having to stay focused in your message and all these other things that are really important. And it was really just a soundbite snippet. And the thing that bugs me about this is how he says, I recorded 500 videos before anyone took notice. That's how it works. So, let's think that through. If that's really how it works, and there's no way to get around 500 videos, there's for someone to say there's no way to have a successful podcast until you've gone past 18 months. If there's like a law in the fabric of the universe that makes it where when you're going to go into video, you got to shoot 500 videos before anybody takes notice, then we're all in trouble. And I challenged him on that. I challenged him on his post. I said, we can improve on that. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that that's how it works, that it takes 500 videos before you would be noticed. I think there are ways to seriously accelerate it. I haven't made 500 videos. You guys are watching me, proof's in the pudding. So there's got to be a better way than accepting this idea, and especially in content creators, that they just think I'm going to sit here and make this content, videos, podcast, audio stuff, graphics, like whatever that medium is, or even blog or text or a bunch of posts. And I'm just going to spit out like hundreds of these until someone takes notice. Like that doesn't sit well with me. I don't actually think it's true. And I challenge the logic behind that. Now I will say that I believe the two things that Quentin had to learn, Q had to learn in his 500 videos is, number one, how to improve his quality. Obviously, when you first start out in video, it's not going to be the greatest. As a matter of fact, you guys have had a lot of fun watching me start my lives and look like Papa Smurf. I mentioned it Tuesday or whenever it was, but there was a setting that was wrong on the camera and I didn't know it. It was saturation, and the saturation was slightly off. And it either made me look blue or red, and there was no in between. Like if I looked too red, I would adjust it back towards blue, but then I would look blue. Like there was no way to get a natural complexion off the thing. Or if it was too blue, then I could adjust it more towards red, but there was no middle ground. It would either be blue or red. So there are some things that you have to learn, along the way, and it's a learning curve no matter what. So I'm sure out of those 500 videos, he learned how to improve his quality. That's definitely something you have to do because if you're low quality at whatever your product or service is, if it's low quality, you're always going to struggle. So shortcut that. Don't take 500 videos before you figure out how to make really high quality. Instead, realize the journey starts today, and I'm going to begin to improve the quality as much as I can. It's something that I do all the time. Like my last improvement, I've changed the lights around in here to try to get a better lighting for myself. And then the last improvement that I've done, well, and figuring out how to turn the saturation down on the video. But one of the last ones that I've done is, and that we're doing tonight, is I have a Cat5 cable plugged into my laptop, and it's like snaking all through the house over to where the closet is that has the Wi-Fi, and I've physically plugged in instead of using the Wi-Fi and maybe having a lower signal. I just went ahead and want to up my game because I'm trying to improve my quality. So I'm always focused on quality, and I don't look like Papa Smurf anymore. So that's certainly an improvement. Another thing that you learn in the beginning, and he had to learn, I'm sure, through the 500 videos, is learn how to really provide value. So a lot of people I see, especially in personal brands, especially the coaching space, they're excited to see change in people's lives, but they're not professionally trained, or they're not even self-studied that much. They went through a transformation themselves. A lot of them did. And they want to see that same transformation in other people. They feel excited about it, but they don't really know how to coach someone else through that same transformation. And I'm not saying school's the answer and you got to go get certified and all this kind of stuff. Depending on the area, you may need that. But I'm definitely of the mind that it takes time to figure out, like as a coach, as an example, to really be able to provide value. In Quentin's case, with them doing videos, it took time to figure out how to provide real value. Not only quality videos, but what's the message, and then how to succinctly get that message across. And then if it's going to be in video, that message, there's an audible component, which would be the words that are being spoken, plus maybe background music, and then the imaging that's being used. They all come together to say a message, and it takes time to figure that out. If I opened up shop today and said, because I do my own video editing and all that kind of stuff, if I opened up shop today and said, hey, I can edit your videos for you, like I would have to learn those components before I was able to actually provide that as a valuable service, and it would just take time. So part of Quentin's learning curve is 500 videos. These are the things that he had to go through and learn. Then you have to find customers. So even after you've improved your quality, you've got a really good skill, you know how to provide value. If you don't know where your customers are, you don't know how to communicate with them, you can't find them and connect with them, it's going to take more than 500 videos. It's possible that you could be the greatest in the world, but have zero for a network, and it's going to take a lot more than 500 videos. All right, so these were all the things that were like weighing on my mind, that it was keeping me up, and this is what my notes look like. So whenever I on my phone, if I just pull this is a Note 10, when I just pull the pen out and write, it uses a black background and white text, so that's what you guys get to see. This is actually my chicken scratch. And if you take a minute, you can read some of this. Like I've got in here, like up at the very top, Dunning-Kruger. I've got selling cookies, and then I went through this whole list, and we'll visit the list in a minute about what it takes to sell cookies and all that. So I've basically gone through all of these notes. I didn't read them on this screen like you're seeing them right now, but I went through them. I did go through them on my phone and have put them into these slides. So yes, that was really at 3 a.m. All right. No further comments yet, but I see you guys are still hanging with me. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So let me say who this is not for. People that don't like to take responsibility, like this whole thing, what I'm going to show you about the psychology of failure and how we are too smart for our own good. Like when I show this, it's going to be about you. It's not, I have to take it that it's about me, but I am not your problem. Neither is anybody else, or some other part of your business is not your problem. We have to take our own responsibility. Also, I hope this isn't for you if you have guilt issues. So like if you feel like, well, Richard just is making me feel like I'm a horrible human, like totally not my intent. Or if you want to do what everyone else does. So like if you're of that mindset, like, Well, everybody else is posting a whole bunch of content. Everyone else plays the tag games. Everyone else is in a pod. Everybody else is doing it. I can tell you, everybody else is not making money too, and that's the surprising thing. I've seen it time and again. Like on LinkedIn, the content creators that get LinkedIn awards don't make any money. They're either married to someone else who's making money, or they're like Lyft, Uber, a barista, or something else. They've got some other kind of day job, even though they've got hundreds of comments on their posts and they've got tons of engagement. And it seems like they're running in a clique of about 20 people, and they're all like all over the place with each other. And you would think because they're coaching or whatever that they're making money. They're not, and they won't tell you in the beginning. It just takes time for you to figure it out, and you can tell by the way that they talk. Like, that's why I started off in the beginning of these videos, results that I'm actually getting. I got results for Keith. I'm getting results for my own thing. I'm getting results for other marketers. Another one, Karen Markle, by the way, you can look her up. She started a Facebook group as well. As a matter of fact, her group was growing faster than mine in the beginning. And it's like she's a student of mine and she's outperforming me, which was great. I was happy to see someone else like taking off. She had like 110 people in her group, like instantly. People that are having success talk about the results that they get. People that are not talking about results don't have them. And I'm telling you, people that look like they're really big on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, like wherever, they look really big, but if they're not actually showing you hardcore results of what they're really doing with their business, I'm telling you, I know because I've seen them from the other side, they're not making money. And how I find out is I'll connect with them, I'll talk with them for a little while, and then over time, the trust builds, and then they start telling me how they're struggling. And so I'm not going to be here and like divulge who they are and all that kind of stuff. I can just tell you that I've seen it from all areas. No matter what kind of awards they're making or how busy and blown up it seems like they are, trust me, they're not making money, because content marketing doesn't work like that. And it's sad. Guys like Gary Vee make it seem like it should, but it really doesn't. Gary Vee is playing in a different market, and he's doing something else to get his customers, not what he's showing you on Instagram or any of these other social platforms. By the way, since I'm going to talk about him, look, if you listen to him for a little while, you start hearing about who's paying him. Like Pepsi paid him, right? Cool Whip, I think, was another one. So he's had a different client. There was another one. I can't remember all of his clients, but if his marketing worked, what you see him doing for his own personal brand, then you would see him doing the same thing for those other brands that are paying him money, but you don't see them doing what he does. So the marketing he's doing for them is not the same thing as the marketing he's doing for himself that he's showing publicly. His social media platform is really just a game. It's just something that he makes himself look really big on. But his own personal marketing, how he's getting contracts like with Pepsi and Cool Whip and all those guys, he's not showing you how he does that. And the marketing he does for them as they are his clients, that none of them are doing what Gary Vee does. So that's not what marketing actually makes money. So sorry if I'm bursting anybody's bubble, but it is the truth. So who is this for? So that, by the way, that was all about, if you want to do what everybody else is doing, like, this is not for you. You can have the results that everyone else is getting as well, if you want to do what everybody else is doing. So if you don't want to waste time, this is totally for you. If you're self-improvement minded, that means I'm examining myself. I'm trying to figure out what my flaws are, what things I need to be improving on. And I'm happy when people point out things that I could do better, because I'm going to improve myself. And if you're self-aware is knowing your biggest faults, like realizing that I have this natural tendency that's a negative thing over here, and I'm very aware of it. So when I get in certain situations, I know that that's what I tend to do, and I'm going to be on the lookout for it. By the way, just self-aware of what your hangups and issues are some of the biggest. Like, you don't have to go through some big long course to become free from it. Realizing that this is our downfall or whatever, personality flaw, like however you want to frame it, weakness, learning that that's what it is and being aware of it is usually enough for it not to take over and continue to mess up our lives. Who is this for? Also, if you just want a simpler plan, I'm at the end, I'm going to give you a dead simple plan on how to do your own marketing. All right, so let's talk about MacArthur Wheeler. So MacArthur Wheeler, for those of you who don't know, he lived in Pittsburgh, and I don't know, it's been in the last 50 years. It's been a minute, but he's not very, very current. I guess I could go look it up again and refresh myself on the stats, but let me tell you what MacArthur Wheeler did. He ran into one bank and he robbed them at gunpoint with no mask, nothing to conceal his face. He showed up on the cameras. They filmed him. And then within a few hours, he ran into another bank and held them up as well. And, at gunpoint, again, no mask, nothing to conceal his face whatsoever. He goes back home, and a couple hours later, he's surprised when the cops are knocking on the door and they arrest him. And the first words out of his mouth, when he was incredulous, he couldn't believe that they'd figured out who he was. He said, "But I put the lemon juice on." That's literally what he told the police when they arrested him. So what had happened was, how to do invisible ink. You get paper and, a little paintbrush or whatever and lemon juice, and you can write the lemon juice with the lemon juice on the paper, and then no one can read it. It's invisible ink. Then you take the paper and you hold it over a flame and get it to heat up a little bit, and then the lemon juice basically cooks and turns brown, and then you can read the writing. So he had seen that trick, and so he thought, wow, lemon juice is invisible ink. So I'll rub it on my face and no one will be able to see who I am. And the joke that is, they think that maybe what happens was he rubbed it on his face and it was burning his eyes. And he even took a picture of himself to prove to himself that he could see his face. And I guess he wasn't holding the camera right or whatever. This is pre-selfie days. And so the picture, when he looked at the picture, he couldn't see his face in it. So he thought he was good to go. So these two scientists, Dunning and Kruger, decided to look into this and how in the world could someone be this incompetent, if I could say it that way, or this ignorant of how things actually work. And they started doing a study. They did a study on him. They did a study of this as a phenomenon, and that the phenomenon is this: that when people first start out in a domain of knowledge, they know very little naturally, but they really quickly become super confident and they think, this is easy. I can figure this out. I must know a lot. And that's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And they put together this chart that shows a progression of how much we learn and how high our confidence is over a period of time. So in the beginning, obviously down at the bottom means a low level of confidence. We don't have much confidence that we can have success at something or that we're a master of it or whatever. And the higher the line goes, then obviously the higher our confidence is in our own abilities and what we know, being able to accomplish something, etc. So in the very beginning, and from left to right, those that know nothing are all the way over to the left, and a guru or a master, someone who's achieved a high level of skill in that domain of knowledge is all the way over to the right. So how much knowledge we have is left to right. So in the very beginning, we learn a little bit and immediately our confidence goes up through the roof. And then it immediately falls right back down. Because it doesn't work. We get arrested with lemon juice on our face. We thought that things worked a certain way. We had a high level of confidence, and we ran out there and had a couple failures and came limping back home, and then figured out, wow, I just don't really know as much as what I thought I knew. And so now our confidence drops back off. It actually probably meets our level of knowledge quite well when it falls back down. Yes, I am in Tennessee. This is not moonshine. Excuse me. Again, still trying to get over the cold and a slight cough. Yeah, by the way, so sorry for coughing so much in the other video. I figure I'll preempt the cough by drinking a little bit more water as we go through this video. All right, so the more we begin to know, in the beginning, like first our confidence goes up through the roof. Then as we learn more and make mistakes, then our confidence goes back down. And then it's on this slow trek of, as we begin to learn more and more and more over a period of time, eventually we become a master, and it just takes time. This is a very common learning curve on every domain of knowledge that we're not already familiar with. This is just how it works. So by the way, they phrase these different spots like the peak of Mount Stupid. So that's where we know very little, but we got the super amount of confidence. The Valley of Despair, that's where we've like banged our head against the wall a couple of times and like nothing is working and we're going to give up. This is where podcasts die at 18 months. In the beginning, high amount of confidence. Hey, I can do this. I can go crush it. By the way, entrepreneurs go through this. Entrepreneurs have insane amounts of confidence, and they just have to go. They have to press through the Valley of Despair so that the confidence goes up. They have to have like what we call a come to Jesus moment, where it's like, oh my goodness, none of this is working, and I'm a total failure. I feel like I'm a fraud. Like whatever, all that negative talk. Don't stay there, because it's very negative. But if you just realize you're in part of the process, then it's like, okay, all I have to do is just keep learning more and improve my skill, and I will get out of it. And you'll find the way to enlightenment. All right. So the one question to ask yourself all the time is, have you had enough sufficient failure and then success? Because when you think about that curve, excuse me, I feel it bugs me. I can feel it rattling around in my chest a little bit. I apologize. If you think about that curve, the way that we would know when I'm really knowing what the way things how can I say that? When my confidence level is at the right amount, like how do I know that if I'm being overconfident or underconfident? And that is, have I reached that point where I had confidence and I had some failures? I hit my head a number of times. I lost my confidence and I continued to learn since then. If that's happened, good job. You got the check in the box. You're now well on the way, and you're probably much more aware of how little or how much you really do know. Thanks, Ken. Ken said, take ownership of your own. I'm guessing because right now when I'm doing the slides, I have to like switch back and forth. So I'm not really sure exactly when you put this one in, but thank you. Yep. You have to take ownership of your own stuff. So I'm thinking has to do with who this is for, who this isn't for. So if you've had sufficient failure, so you learned and it peaked up really high, and then you had some failure, and then after that you started having some success, you're in the safe zone. Like now it's healthy, and you'll probably do very well. You can trust your amount of confidence. If, however, you haven't had any failure, then you may not want to trust your confidence. And I've seen this a lot, especially in marketing, where some guys will get together, they'll do something like they'll start doing some video marketing or whatever. They get a crazy amount of success. So like their confidence goes up, but their knowledge is still low, and they have success on top of it. And then things changed. They didn't have enough knowledge to figure out like how they were having success. They started hitting walls, and everything that used to work. As a matter of fact, I can name a couple of them who've told me this isn't working anymore. This used to work a year ago. This worked 2 years ago. One person in particular I'm thinking of, a good friend of mine, she was telling me, I don't know what's wrong. Something's changed. It's not working the same way anymore. Used to 2 years ago, I could just do these 3 things and I would have clients all the time. Now I'm doing those 3 plus a lot more, and I'm not getting any clients. This is because they had a high amount of confidence with their success, but they didn't have enough knowledge. So when things changed and didn't work that way anymore, boom, their confidence fell. Now they're back to having success again. I'm very happy to report. but it's just taken time for them to learn the rest of that domain of knowledge in order to get to that place where their knowledge and their confidence are equally matched up. So if you haven't had sufficient failure yet and then started to have some success, you may still be in the beginning phases of that I guess I should point over there, that learning curve. All right. So I thought I'd give a really good example of exactly how this sort of thing will work. And I'll use something that is abstract because I don't think I have anybody in the group that's trying to run a cookie business. I do have a good friend, Noonian, that she's the Pink Baker, I believe it is. And she has her own little bakery company, and it's non-dairy and non-wheat. So really interesting how she makes cake mixes, cookie mixes, etc. But I don't think anybody else in the group has a cookie business. So let's talk about what would it take to actually start a cookie business. Sounds pretty simple. You're just mixing up some batter, throwing it in the oven, and then selling them, right? Like cookie business is pretty simple. That's Dunning-Kruger for sure, because one of the first things you got to do is figure out what your pricing. So pricing is not that simple. Pricing, we now have to calculate how much did the supplies cost, how much time did it take, what about the electricity, if I had to hire laborers, like all these things come into a factor, and then I'm going to try to sell these cookies. By the way, in the very beginning, with a very low volume cookie place, your pricing has to be extremely high because you're paying bulk, you're paying top rates for all of your ingredients, all the supplies, etc. So pricing is one of the first things that we have to go through and figure out. And again, that pricing is its own little learning curve of, we got high confidence in the beginning. Oh, pricing, like I can take care of that. And then we have to hit a couple brick walls where we can't figure out pricing, or worse, that we can't make money at it. Then packaging. Okay, so now we're going to sell these cookies, but we got to put them in a box, and this box has to match our brand. So our colors, our logo, the aesthetic of the box, whether is it a see-through box, is it not, is it just a plastic form, or is it like an actual paper box with a plastic window, like all the packaging. Now we have to go figure that out. Then where can we buy it from? So now we got to go source it and figure out who can print the packaging with our colors, our logo, all that kind of stuff, and do it at a rate that will allow us to still make money. Since we're just starting out, by the way, we're going to have a low volume on the packaging we're ordering, so we don't get bulk rate. So now we're paying a lot more, so our prices have to be higher, and it's affecting pricing. Then distribution. Okay, even if all we're going to do is sell 1,000 cookies a day or 2,000 cookies a day, doesn't sound like a lot, especially if you can bake, hundreds of them at a time. How am I going to distribute them? So now we've got to figure out, like, where can I go that will sell my cookies, that they feel like that's a value add to their place, and then how am I going to transport them there? Am I going to do it in my own car? Am I hiring an employee? Do we have a little van that like drives all over town dropping off cookies all the time? Like, how does that work out? We got to go figure out how to do distribution. Then we want to get better suppliers so that we can reduce our cost and impact our pricing and make a little bit more money, maybe lower the price and still be able to make money so that we can be competitive. Now we got to start sourcing out suppliers and figure out where can we get all of our ingredients that are special to our cookies at a decent rate and have it all timely. So, obviously, if you buy in bulk, you'll pay less. But in the beginning, we're not making cookies in bulk. So, what supplier wants to deliver cookie material today and then I don't place another order for 60 days because I got plenty of supplies? Like, they don't want that kind of a headache of the one-time order every couple months. So that becomes another problem that has to be solved. Then you got to find a commercial kitchen. And then there's the timing of, making sure you can get in the kitchen the times of the week that you need to get in there in order to make the cookies, or and that's if it's a shared kitchen or you're renting one and that way it's exclusive or whatever, but that's now an expense. It's something you got to go figure out. Then there are health codes. Okay. So if we're going to make cookies, we're going to have a health inspection. They're going to come through and make sure that, we don't drop stuff on the floor, put it up on the counter and keep working with it, or like whatever, or that we're unsanitary, that we clean all of our dishes, like, or pots, pans, all that kind of stuff. So we got to go through health codes. Then there are label laws. So now this is beyond packaging. Now I've got to have a good label, and I have to put down the ingredients, and I've got to put how many calories and all that kind of stuff. So now there are label laws of what exactly has to be placed on the label. Then, of course, there's bookkeeping, there's taxes, there's permits. Then finally you get around to, like, after we've learned all of that about how to just have a cookie business, which sounded really simple in the beginning. All of our friends encouraged us to do it because they love our cookies and we got the greatest recipe in the world. But it took us like 2 years to figure all this stuff out. Now we have to deal with employees. And then finally, and by the way, employees are a big headache. As a business grows to the place where they need employees, there's a lot of psychology that has to be learned about employees. And then finally, there's standardization. So with employees, I want them to make the cookies the same all the time. So we have an exact recipe, an exact methodology, all that. So in the beginning, I use this as an example because I don't think anybody in my live stream or the Facebook group or anywhere is trying to start a cookie business. And it just sounds so simple, right? It's just a cookie business. We're just going to make cookies and sell them. But you can see how complex this is, how complex it gets really fast. And imagine the Dunning-Kruger effect with all of this. We have confidence really high in the beginning that we can solve all of these things, but each one of them turns into a brick wall, a failure, something to struggle over, and we fall back down. Our confidence falls back down into that valley of despair. And it's like, oh my God, I'm never going to figure this out. And then we finally get pricing or packaging or distribution figured out. It's like, yay, big win. Like, now we got some distribution going on. But then, wow, the health inspectors came down on us really hard, and we're shut down for 2 weeks because we've got to go take care of something. Or labels are wrong, and we've got 200,000 of them already pre-printed, and now we have to throw them all away and go get new labels because this one thing we didn't know we needed to do. And so, like, starting that business is like one headache after another. And that's why people get burned out. They've had enough of that overconfidence and running into problems and then falling down that valley of despair. If they don't ever get out of that valley of despair and they just stay there, they don't have really good successes and wins. That's when you see people that say, that's it. Like, I give up on the cookie business. I'm not going to do this anymore. And I totally sympathize. That's where podcasts don't make it at 18 months. Because all the struggles that they ran into, and they weren't making any money from it. They weren't getting any income. They didn't have a way to monetize all that attention. Let me hop over and see. Yep. Ken Pringle says marketing, if it is a business. Again, Ken, a little cryptic on that one, because I don't know exactly when you typed it in. But, I know what you mean. Yes, you also have to do marketing. So it's not just good enough that you're going to go, like, put your cookies in every Kroger's. Like, you may win a deal like that. Nice if you did. But if you don't get something like that, then how are you going to do your marketing? So that's a whole new struggle. And this is one of the worst ones, because the best marketing is, and I'll have one of these as the questions at the end, the best marketing ever is where you can say, who's my ideal customer, and where's the easiest place for me to, like, reach a lot of those all at one time? Like, where do those people really live? Where do they hang out and stay? And that being able to find that ideal customer is all about marketing. If there's no easy place to find them, your marketing is really hard. Like, it's going to be very difficult. If they all go to, like, this one thing, they're all in this one place, then your marketing is super easy. When it comes to cookies, where do they hang out? Like, everybody likes cookies, right? That's another problem. Everybody wants to buy my cookies. Everybody needs this. Everybody needs this product. Everybody uses it. Everybody drinks coffee. Everybody eats cookies, like, whatever. Everybody does it. And that's why no one will ever do it. So the everybody marketing is even harder because it's very deceptive. So, all right. So want to move on to now that same idea, but let's talk about having it in a branding business. So you've got a small business, you're building a personal brand, etc. And here are all those same factors, and it's a lot more actually. So your brand, which is very nebulous, it's very hard to wrap your mind around it unless you have someone like me. I've got a set of questions that I'll walk people through, a 50-page PDF that actually does a lot more than that. Now that I think of it, probably about 10 to 20 pages really help people figure out their brand. Your market position, that's another one that has to be figured out. Market position is a little bit easier. Again, just a couple questions help frame up your market position. Messaging is the absolute hardest thing, I believe, of any brand, and it takes a long, long time. As a matter of fact, one of the ones that I was distraught about Monday night when I couldn't sleep was their messaging. They were going to go and change their messaging, but this is the one thing that people struggle with the absolute most, is getting their message down really nice and tight. It's like, it's hard. Even me, like trying to do my own messaging, I find it difficult at times because I'm inside my own box. It's kind of hard to see what your messaging should be. Whereas when I walk up with other people, I just walk up, I'm talking to them about their business, and we get on the topic of their messaging or whatever. It's like so easy for me to just listen to them for a minute, and then I give them like a one sentence, and I'm like, this is it. This is your messaging. That takes a long time to be able to get that as a skill. Even if you're in your own business for a long time, messaging is something you have to be super intentional about. And it's something that I don't know how to say it. It just takes a long time to learn the art of really, really good, concise, short messaging that's highly effective. It's an art. Website. I can't tell you how many prospects I'll be talking to on the phone. It's like, hey, so tell me a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in business, like whatever. And they'll say, well, about 2 years. Okay, so tell me, what'd you do last month? Like, let's talk about, well, I've been working on my website. Okay, how long have you been working on your website? Well, about 2 years. So I'm still working on my website too. I totally get it. But concise messaging, by the way, a brand, your position in your market, all feed into your website. And I can't tell you how many people that I'll meet them, and the first thing they want to go do is like build a website, put some pictures of themselves and put some, content up there, some messaging. And then over time, these other things they start figuring out, like their branding, their position needs to be refined. They get a really tight, concise message. And the whole time they're going back to their website, and rejiggering it, like changing it around. I've done it. Like I did that for years myself. So I'm telling on myself. Self accountability here. That's one of the signs that we're still at the very, very early part of the Dunning-Kruger learning curve. Another thing that has to be figured out is social accounts and what to name them, what graphics to put on them, how to describe each one of them, what content goes on each one of them, what cover photo, if it's going to be different, goes on each one of those. Then you got product development. Even if what you have is a service, your product or service, it doesn't matter. You have to figure out what's the right product or service that I'm going to do at what price, and therefore who's the ideal customer for that, and then finding them and working that out and getting a really, really good product developed. Customer engagement, this takes a long time to figure out. It's just like messaging. It's not as easy as just like connecting with people and and pitching them with your business. Like customer engagement is a different thing. And that even the pre-sales and post-sales, both of them take an art, like being able to find the customers that you've already had, have them do marketing for you, give you referrals and stuff. That takes time and skill. It sounds easy to say, oh yeah, it'd be great if all my customers would just refer me someone, but it's hard to get them to do it without you seeming like you're hard sales or whatever, hey, can you please refer me? Like so it takes time to learn that as a skill. Whether you use like a ClickFunnels type funnel or not, you have a sales funnel in your business. No matter what it is, I have a sales funnel because people will start in one place, or I guess technically a funnel, they go top to down. People start in one place of not knowing who you are or about your product or service or whatever, and they learn about you over time and until they become a customer, whether you're selling a product or service, like whatever. And so there's that funnel. You have to be very intentional about how do you message people that don't know you, that are just getting introduced to you, to how can you communicate to people that now they should know you well enough, and it's time for you to maybe have a call to action and say, would you like for us to work together? So even if you don't have a ClickFunnels, you still technically have a sales funnel and need to see that as a customer journey of from not knowing to becoming a customer. Ads. So if you get into ad space, like Facebook ads, etc., like that's insane. It's a lot that you have to learn. I've heard so many people like say, don't ever get into ads until you really have your business down. You got your product, your margin, your messaging is really tight. And then know that when you go and you start, especially like Facebook ads, that your competition, I think that's one of the next couple ones. When you're doing your ads, these guys will have a loss leader. So they will pay $5, for example, to send per lead and have a lower conversion rate on a like maybe a $7 PDF. So they may pay $50 and get a $7 sale. And there's no way you can compete with them unless you're doing the same thing. And where they make their money is on the back end. So this guy that paid $7 to get a PDF, he's now going to be upsold a course that's, $200 or $500 or $1,000, like whatever. And that's where they actually make their money. So they don't mind paying a high ad price, and it puts all the competition. Like if I went head to head with them, it would put me out of business, because unless I also have a large back end, that is other products that are higher cost to sell to people, I can't afford a high ad price. So people that are like have a really good business system already down, they dominate in ad competition. That's something that if you don't know that, it's Dunning-Kruger all over again. Like at high confidence, I can just do Facebook ads. Look how easy it is to create Facebook ads. And that high level of confidence, you go down to the valley of despair super, super quick. Then there's automation. So if you're trying to scale, and like in my case, like with Keith, that was actually automated marketing that we were using to reach 2,500 people and get 177 responses in 3 weeks. Like, so automation is something you got to, if you're going to get into it, if you need to go at scale, if you want to have that kind of reach, then you have to learn what it takes to do that type of automation. I'm using automation all the time in my business, all the time. All of my marketing is based on automation. By the way, automation and messaging go hand in hand, because if your messaging is too salesy, like I connect to someone on LinkedIn and immediately they send me 4 paragraphs and a couple of links and go watch this video. Like that's so much in my face. It's like, I'm never going to work with that person. That's horrible messaging. Whereas if I connect with someone, and those of you that have seen my messaging in effect, I'll connect with you and I'll send you a little small thing saying, hey, I got this Facebook group, or I've got this email list, using those two as the examples. I could pull up the actual text maybe and show you, but it's a real soft invite. Hey, I've got this Facebook group. The focus is on personal branding. I'd love to have you join. Like real low key. There's no clue that there's any sales in sight. And by the way, they could be watching this video. You're watching this video right now, and I haven't sold to you yet. Like you haven't been invited to even get on a phone call necessarily with me, because I've lengthened out my messaging, because I would much rather have a larger engaging group than a group where I just bring people and immediately pitch to them and kill them, because that's just not how relationships work. You give, and I love having a place where I can give a lot of really good content. It's a lot of fun for me, and the sales happen over time. All right, so then you got to figure out groups like this one, or how to run an email list. Content. So if you're going to be on the social platforms, you're going to have to put out content. Ad competition, already mentioned that. You'll have to figure out opt-ins and squeeze pages. How to do a squeeze page. How to now go write this PDF that people are going to enter their name and download it. Whatever. Webinars. So if you're going to do a webinar and sell people maybe a product of 2,500 or more or whatever, then like how to do webinars and all the messaging that has to already be perfect leading into the webinar, during the webinar, and all the follow-up afterwards. Because the better the messaging is, the higher the conversion rate. The worse the messaging is, like actually with anything in your business, the worse the messaging is, the worse the whole thing is. So messaging is definitely very key. Doing live streams. So case in point, having a saturation setting wrong can really mess up your live streams. And also another concept for content that you're going to be putting out is video versus text. All right. And then I think I just quit with this one. I could have kept going. But I think Keith Brzee was on my mind. So I put down SEO is another thing that you can learn. The problem is every one of these, when you're in the heat of the battle, it actually looks like it's a silver bullet. Every one of these, if we went back through the list, that man, if I get my messaging right, then I'll just convert people. And this like if I put together a package and said, hey, we're going to get your messaging right, and with really good messaging, you can take people that know very little about you to instantly trusting you and then purchasing from you. And imagine what it'd be like if you had everybody that ever saw your message buy from you. Rah, rah, rah. You got to come now and buy now, and if, operators are standing by, please, call now. Every one of those things can be stated in exactly those terms, and they look like a silver bullet. SEO. What happens if you SEO'd your site and you got page 1 of Google, and then you had all of this free traffic, and everybody, they came to your site. If you had 1 million people that came to your site, and you even had just a 1% or a 0.1% conversion ratio of these people that would buy your product or service, and people just sit there and they'll just do the math. And it's like, oh, wow, yeah, I'd make so much money. And so then they'll go buy this SEO thing, and it's an SEO boot camp for 2 months. And they don't tell you got to make 6 months worth of content, and you've got to do social engineering with a lot of other people to get them to link to your content and build up your site. And those people, by the way, are probably going to be your competitors. So, they don't tell you all the things, and everything looks like it's just a silver bullet. And all you got to do is just do this one thing. By the way, Ken, thank you very much. Putting in about building relationships and you build longevity. That's totally what this group is about. I want to do nothing but build longevity. I'd love for you guys to be here in 10 years and you're all talking about all the crazy success that you're having. Not necessarily as a result of being in the group, but to stay here and share it with us anyway. All right, so 2 problems with all of these different things. Each of these will take your time to master. So no matter what it is, learning how to do your website, your brand, logos, that entire list, each one of those will take your time to master. Again, Dunning-Kruger, it looks easy in the beginning. I got a high level of confidence because I don't know anything yet. And then I've got to make a really ugly looking website. I've got to have a really ugly looking logo. I've got to have something that, like, 2 months later, I'm super embarrassed to say that I actually like that. And then my confidence drops down into that valley of despair. You got to have that on every single one of those things that you start out on. So I'm going to now do content marketing. That's a learning curve. And it's going to have nothing but headaches and problems. In the beginning, it seems like this is so simple. I'm just going to make content, put it out. And then you wonder why you can't get people to connect with you over your content. So then you start playing metrics games. You start tagging all your buddies and getting them to come and do their comments, and they're sharing it out and all that kind of good stuff. Looks great, but now why is no one calling me? I still don't understand why no one's calling me for my services, because that doesn't work. But it was a learning curve to figure it all out and play the game for months before you realize that doesn't work. Okay, so now what am I going to do? Now you got to go figure one of these other silver bullets out. And then it's like, oh, well, I've got all this content. Now if I just put it on my website and I did SEO, or, oh, wait, now I'm going to actually have to fix my website. So now I'm going to pay this guy $5,000 to go do my website for me. And then, or I'm going to do it myself, and it's going to take me 6 months or 3 months to figure out how to do my own website. And then I'm going to be able to have success. Like every one of these, it sounds like it's a silver bullet and you'll have success when you're done with it, but it won't happen that way. That's not how it happens. Each one of them takes your time to master. The problem with them is they're fragmented and they're not really focused on the few things, 2 things actually, that you really need in order to have success in your business. So you'll either pay in time, money, or in failure, and you may actually pay in all 3 of these. if you keep thinking each one of those is going to be a silver bullet. All right, let me take a break and see if there are any other comments, which, nope, the last one was from Ken about building relationships. And take a little water break. All righty. By the way, thank you guys for, I see you're still here. So Ken hasn't, I don't think you've left yet. So your wife hasn't drug you away to your birthday party yet. So thank you guys for still hanging out. So now the two things your business absolutely has to have. And when I put these, I imagine if anybody watches the recording of this and they like fast forward to this spot and they see these two things, they'll say, well, yeah, I knew that already. But if you think that when I show them to you, like, I want you just to sit back for a minute and say, okay, but what does that really mean? And because that's what we really want to talk about. So you have to have a valuable product or service. Bottom line, like whatever it is you're going to be doing for people, it has to be valuable. And the value is not in our eyes. The value is in the consumer's eyes. So, if I'm going to buy a car, I'm the one that determines what value is, not the salesman. The salesman may say, hey, this is a beauty, and it's a jalopy, it's a pile of junk. Since I'm the one buying it, I'm the one that determines the value, not him. So your ideal customers, those are the ones who will determine if your product or service has value or not. That's why it took Q 500 videos to get to the place where he was producing something of value to get noticed. Also, customers, you have to have a valuable product or service. And the other thing you have to have customers. If you don't have anybody to sell to, then you don't have a business. And if you don't have anything to sell, then you don't have a business. So it takes those two things. Now, I get it. Like I said, these are the two most simplest, obvious things that you have to have in your business. And everybody would say, well, sure. So then the question is, for everybody that's watching, why overcomplicate it? Why make yourself have to have a website and social content and an email list and a Facebook group and webinars and live streams and why overcomplicate it with all of these other things that keep us busy doing stuff but has very little to do with the product or service and the customer? Case in point, like that's why I gave you guys stats in the beginning, because I'm showing you that even though I'm doing live streams and I have a website and I've got a Facebook group and I got an email list and I'm still busy getting results. My clients are getting results. I'm getting, like, again, how would you like to have 177 people entering into your business, your sales funnel flow in just 3 weeks? Like, so even though I have all these other things, that's why it doesn't bug me, by the way, when I look like Papa Smurf on a video, because my whole business is not hinging off of, I hope to God this live stream works out well and that I don't look like Papa Smurf on it. Like, it doesn't really matter to me. I could not do live streams. I still have customers coming in. I could not do live streams. My automation, my marketing is still working. I still have people coming in, whether I'm live streaming or not. I would love to be able to put content out and play some of the content game just for brand awareness. That's the only purpose I would like to put content out, is for brand awareness on LinkedIn. And I make video content. I can micro content it out and put it on LinkedIn. I just don't do it. I actually have 2 to 3 weeks worth of video content just waiting for me to slice and dice it. And actually, some of it's already sliced up. I think I have a week of it's already sliced. It's been ready for 2 weeks. I just haven't put any of it out because I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to have to take the time. So I'm the opposite. I'm not the guy that's like, oh my God, I got to put content out. Let me get busy, making sure I put content out, because I already have customers coming in. Again, the two things you got to have a valuable product or service. You got to have customers. So content, a website, a webinar, a live stream, a Facebook group, all those other things, those are very much secondary to these two things. I got to have a valuable product and service. I got to have customers. So I've always just thought, what's the product or service I'm going to offer? And then who would the customers of that be? I encourage you to do that in your own business. And so I have these two questions for you. Is your product or service ready? Like, is it already boxed up, ready to go? Like even if it's like a service, like you're a coach or whatever, are you already ready? If you found someone today who had like fill in the blank problem, and this is a good way. If you're, this is a really good way to know if you're ready. Fill in the blanks on this. Richard, if you find someone over the next week who has problem, fill in the blank, let me know and I will do fill in the blank with them. And in X days, they will have fill in the blank results. If you can make that kind of statement, by the way, send it to me. Like, I'd like to know. I'll see if I can go find those people. If you can fill in the blanks of that sentence, then you're ready on whatever that thing is that you just said you could do. You're ready to go. If you can't fill that sentence in, it's like, well, yeah, if they have this problem, I think maybe I could do this for them, or I may have to do that for them, but I don't know if it'll really work. Well, you're not ready. But if you say, yeah, if this guy has this problem, like if someone came to me right now and said, Richard, I want 177 people to come into my business in the next 3 weeks, I can solve that problem. It's like, okay, let's talk about what your product or service is. Let's make what your message flow is going to look like. And then how can I describe your ideal customer so that I can go automate finding them and sticking them into your messaging flow? Like, done. That's so easy. So if you can clearly identify the problem and what you would do to solve it for this person and what kind of results they would have in what time frame, your product or service is ready. If not, if you can't fill in those blanks, your product or service is not ready yet. Then the second thing is, after your product's ready, it's like, okay, like I'm ready to go find them. Then where's the easiest place for you to find them? And I've used this as an example. This is not a cream, but I usually use a cream. If this was a burn cream, and if you had a 3rd degree burn, that's all the way to the bone, and we could put this burn cream on it, and 3 weeks later, your skin and your muscle, 3 weeks later, I got 3 on the brain. 24 hours later, after we put this cream on there, your skin was baby fresh, like the muscle, the skin, the bone, everything's healed up, no scar, no pain. This stuff would be a miracle, right? You would say everybody needs to have it. I could sell that everybody in the world needs to have this next to their stove, next to their garage, next to their backyard grill. Like, this should be in every factory, in every warehouse. Like, yeah, everybody needs it. But where's your ideal customer for this? You could go to the busiest intersection in New York City, which would be Times Square, and try to sell a box of this stuff. You wouldn't be able to give it away. But all of those people walking through Times Square would need it, right? Because every one of them, no doubt, in their life at some point is going to be burned or has been burned, and it'll happen again. They'll get burned again. But you couldn't sell it to them. You couldn't even give the stuff away. But if you went to a burn unit at a hospital where everybody is in bed because they got 3rd degree burns, and you only had 1 bottle of the stuff, you could charge an outrageous amount of money. I wouldn't do it, but you get my point. So if your product or service is ready, where's your ideal customer really hanging out? Like, all the people in this one place is exactly the ones with the problem that I solve. These are the 2 questions they answer in your business. And then just get busy connecting with them there and demonstrating your value. You don't have to do any of the other content marketing and live streams and all this other kind of stuff. You don't have to play all those games. Where's your ideal customer? Demonstrate your product or service to them. Put the 2 of them together. That's all you need in business. So I threw this in as a joke. So that's really it. Let's make a simple plan and get you results. Again, thanks you guys. So Ken actually did have to go. Sorry again for the cough. Yep. So Ken said he had to go. His wife just called me away. We'll talk soon. Keep it simple. Happy birthday again, Ken. I'm sure you're going to come back and watch the last, let's see, what time did you post this? About 5 minutes ago. You'll come and watch the tail end of this. If you guys have liked this and you want to hop on, you want to talk through your business, you want to do a live brainstorm with me right now, let's do it. You can click the URL, or Actually, you can't click the URL that's in the video. Instead, you'll have to type it in, but type rpurls.com/live-guest. Have a webcam. I'd love to chat. I always make this as an offer. Not that many people take me up on it. A Facebook user has said thanks. I need to do that in the voice of "you have mail." Facebook user says thanks. There we go. All right. So if you'd like to join me, you want to make a really simple plan and get your own results, have some success. We don't even have to do marketing together. It's like, you don't have to be a client of mine. This is not an offer to be a client. Like, of course, if you want to be a client, like, let's talk about that. But if you'd like to come on right now and let's talk through what should your messaging look like? What should, where's your ideal customer? Like, you can describe them, but you need help figuring out where they are. Other people in the group, by the way, could contribute, and they could say, oh, I know where these people are, and can help out. Like, that's what this is all about. So, wow, I'm seeing more people dropping in now that we're at the very end. Sorry, guys, like, that is the last slide. So I'm hoping you guys will get to see the replay. So if you'd like to chat, maybe you don't have the courage, I totally get it, to come on camera with me. By the way, proud of one of my students, Karen Markle. Again, I think I'd mentioned her earlier, but she made a big step and did her first live. I had to help her, but it was so totally cool. 6 months ago, she'd have never done a live. Now she's got her own Facebook group. I did mention this earlier. She's got her own Facebook group. She actually outmarketed me for a minute and had more people coming into her group. I think I was stuck like around 30 or 40, and she went to like 110 instantly. And so I was like really super proud of her, but she was still camera shy. So we got on the camera together and we did it in her group. So I was really happy to help her, overcome or start to overcome that. I don't know if it's a fear, just, social shyness. I guess she's just a super shy person. So anyway, I am not seeing any more comments. I don't see anybody else joining me. No one said they were going to come on, and that's it. So if you want to connect outside of this, DM me, put something in the group, like whatever. I would love to help you figure out what your messaging actually should look like and where your ideal customer is. Because again, if you're ready, all you need now are customers and you've got a business. Don't overcomplicate it. All right. I will be doing this broadcast again tomorrow. The hours will be, it's 2 hours prior. So someone said they'll watch the replay. Putting the kid to bed took longer than usual. And another Facebook user has said thanks. So, really cool. Looking forward to y'all's, your feedback. That's my Southern drawl. Looking forward to your feedback, and I will see you guys again. If you got questions and you want to do them live, let's do it tomorrow because I'm doing the same slides. I'll probably rearrange them. I think I saw two that were semi-duplicates that I'm going to get rid of, but so it'll hopefully be a little bit more polished. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much. Love you.